Good evening to all the students of ICAI present across India. I'm Dr. C. Anirbinna to discuss today the chapter International Trade. Okay. First of all, I want to give a brief introduction with regard to international trade. Till recently, maybe March 2022, India achieved 400 billions of exports. Okay, 400 billions of exports. Okay, and Japan was the first country in 17th century to realize the importance of trade. Okay, to realize the Japan was the first country to realize the importance of trade, and in somehow international trade has been India's weak link for the last several years. Though we are improving, we are good at importing traditional items like engineering goods, garments, gems, jewelry, handicrafts, okay, food items, okay, chemical products, but we are not good at global value chain. We are not good at global value chain. Okay, we are not good at global value chain. What is global value chain? I just give an example, right? We are only good at exporting traditional items, okay, handicrafts, gems, jewelry, engineering goods, chemical products, food items, processed food. Okay, we are good at exporting traditional items, but we are not good at global value chain. What is global value chain? I just give an example. Okay, so for example, US prepares the iPhone design and prototypes, okay, and Taiwan, South Korea provide the critical inputs, right? Okay, critical inputs such as integrated circuits and processes, okay, and China. See, look at here, the iPhone design and prototypes provided by US. Apple iPhone, okay, and critical inputs are provided by South Korea, Taiwan, okay, such as integrated circuits and processors are provided by South Korea and Taiwan, and assembling done in China, and the iPhone product is marketed across all the world. Okay, this kind of a products, or this kind of a global value chain. Okay, it means commodities, your good commodity is getting ready across 3 different places. Okay, this kind of goods enjoy highest export value, price, demand in the world market. Not the traditional items India does. Not the traditional items India does. Okay, not the traditional items. Not the traditional items India does. So India has been very weak. India has been very weak with regard to exports. Okay, I repeat again, global value chain means, okay, I repeat again, the product is getting ready at different part of the world, right? Different part of the world. But India is good at exporting traditional items from its domestic economy to other part of the world. These items don't command high price in the world market. Only global value chain, where value of the product getting added. Okay, iPhone design and prototypes happens in US, and South Korea and Taiwan provide the critical inputs required for manufacturing iPhone, and China labor is good at for assembling of the product. Okay, you see the value chain getting added at US and Taiwan, Korea, and China, and the commodity is marketed across the globe. Commodity is marketed across the globe, right? We need global value chain. India is lacking. Now, 400 billion exports, okay, happened because we need to give some credit for the current government, Modi government, for Atmanirbhar and Bharat, okay, self-reliance, okay, and production-linked incentive scheme. So these are the schemes might have helped India to boost up the exports, okay, but India long way to achieve its exports performance. We made a beginning 400 billion exports, that to this 400 billion exports of India, March 2022. You need to remember this data. Okay, 2020, this 400 billion imports happened after the pandemic, makes even more happy. Okay, clear? And coming back to the question I asked, so good try, Mansha, not correct. No, Pooja, incorrect. Incorrect. This is a tough question. Cracker question. Okay, this absolutely cracker question. I'll give one more day for you to teach, to solve the cracker question. Okay, beautiful question it is. Okay, and thank you, Mansha and Pooja, for trying. And your answers, as not your answers are made a good attempt, but that's not the answer I'm looking at. Okay, now what are we going to cover as part of this unit? Okay, what is international trade and internal trade, free trade or liberal trade, advantages, disadvantages, and theories of international trade, mercantilism, absolute cost advantage theory, comparative cost advantage theory, factor endowment theory, modern theory of international trade, or the Xerholian theory of trade, and factor equalization theorem. Factor equalization. This is what we are going to cover today. Okay, and please keep trying my question. Right, I repeat the question: why Tata McGraw-Hill, Sultan Chand, all other publishing houses every year launch revised accountancy textbook, revised statistics textbook, revised financial management textbook, every revised edition? Okay, revised and enlarged edition. Why they do every year? Okay, this is the beautiful question. Okay, okay. Now international trade. Okay, my slide is not moving. Okay. Okay, I told you, international trade has become very important part of economic growth. Okay, if country wants to grow, international trade is very, very important. Okay, what is international trade? International trade, nothing but export and import of goods and services. Okay, and export and import of goods and services has become, okay, very important for as part of economic growth of the country. Okay, okay. Now, so it involves exchange of goods, services, resources, everything. Right now, okay. Now. So it is highly complex. Okay, international trade is highly complex. Why you are saying it's highly complex? Because multiple currencies. Okay, it's an agreement between the two parties, right? Exporter, importer, right? So multiple currencies. Okay, multiple currencies are, you have US dollar, British pound, Chinese yuan. Okay, Japanese yen. Okay, and so many countries, right? German franc. Okay, so many currencies, multiple currencies are involved in the international trade. Okay, and multiple currencies are involved, and heterogeneity of customers, right? Now look at here, the customers are highly heterogeneous, right? Customers are located across the global value chain. Okay, now customers, the heterogeneity of customers makes it even more difficult for you to do international trade. You need to provide goods and services in accordance to their taste and preferences, right? So it's even more, it's even more challenging thing, right? I'll give you an example, right? Kellogg's cornflakes, right? They entered into India, South India, saying that we're going to change your food habits. You don't eat idli, dosa, puri, pongal in the morning. We'll give you conflicts, right? So US company came to South India. We're going to change your habits, right? Now South Indians are known for eating idli, dosa, vada, pongal, puri in the morning, upma, and Kellogg's Conference wanted to change the eating pattern of breakfast of Indians. They burned their fingers. Okay, and Kellogg's cornflakes, when they entered first into India, it was killed and buried. They went back and they came back with branding their Kellogg's cornflakes as healthy breakfast. Okay, healthy breakfast. Okay, they came with changing of food habits of typical South Indians. Now they burnt their fingers. They came back and came back healthy, nutritious breakfast. Okay, so because heterogeneity of customers and difference is in legal system. So each country has their own legal system, right? Each country has their own legal system. Some countries, see for example, in India, all beef products are banned. Okay, beef products. If you go to McDonald's chain, you don't find beef products. You might find chicken. Okay, but you don't find beef. Okay, because beef is being banned in India. Okay, so legally it's been banned in India. So you don't find beef products in McDonald's. If you go to other part of US and Australia, where McDonald's chains are there, you might find beef products there. Okay, so differences in legal system and business practice also differs. Okay, each country has their business practice are completely different, right? And Europe actually, if you go to Europe, no, shops will be closed by evening 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. But in India, shops 7 o'clock is the peak time for businesses, right? And political system, okay, different political system. Each country has different political system. Okay, this is formalities. It's not that you're sending goods from one part of India to Europe, Africa, or Latin America, or Europe. Okay, there is a prescribed formalities and procedures need to be followed with regard to packing, designing, labeling, printing. Okay, you can't send the commodity like that. Okay, you need to follow the guidelines with regard to packing, designing, labeling, printing. Okay, and all the legal formalities, all the procedures, everything should be adhered to. Okay, should be adhered to. Okay, and look at here, high operating cost. Okay, now logistic costs are high. Goods moving from India to Europe, goods moving India to UK, goods moving from India to Latin America. Okay, just imagine the shipping cost involved, insurance, transportation cost involved. This is one of the reasons why India's exports are expensive. India's exports are expensive because we have a huge logistic cost. Okay, now when logistic cost is high, prices of exports good will be very high. So first of all, our exports are not competitive, right? Bangladesh, okay, Indonesia, okay, and China, these are the countries that are able to dominate in Asia, right? In the export market, our export prices are uncompetitive. Uncompetitive means our price of export goods are very high. Adding to that, you have a high logistic cost, making our exports uncompetitive. Making our exports uncompetitive. Clear, jot down, okay? And diverse restrictions and interventions, right? So it's not easy, right? Sometimes the government, other country government might impose a lot of restrictions, okay, and a lot of intervention while sending the goods from one part of the country to other country. There will be, you need to follow their tax regulations, duties, okay, and tariff. They might impose tariff on our goods. Tariff means tax. Okay, they might say that you can't spend not more than this much of quantity to their country, quotas. Okay, they might impose barriers, trade barriers. Okay, they may impose their own standards with regard to the product. Okay, and they may put a lot of controls and regulations in moving the goods, right? Moving the goods. Okay, and I'll tell you one example. There is always a trade war between China and USA, right? So the trade war is so high between these two countries. Whenever China exports their chickens, they say that your chicken quality is bad, inferior. And whenever US exports tires to China, China would say that your tires are causing environmental pollution. So they accuse each other. in international trade. Okay, they accuse. So it's very complex. International trade is not as simple as you think. Clear? Okay. Now, so we discussed why it is complex, why international trade is complex. We discussed all these points. right? Now as a international trade, domestic trade is very easy. Your movement of goods from one part within the country, okay, and within the country, and exchange is of goods is done in rupees. So domestic currency, there is no headaches, okay, there is no headaches if you exchange goods in the domestic country, okay. But world over, all the economists argue for free trade without any barriers, restrictions, okay, to see that all goods and services reaches across all part of the country, okay. So okay, economics always want a free trade, okay, liberal trade. When I say free trade, liberal trade means without any restrictions, okay. Now what are the arguments of in favor of international trade, okay. Now, optimal is utilization of natural resources, right? When your goods are being demanded across the world, what would happen? It put pressure on you to make use of natural resources more efficiently and to produce more and to export more. If you take Chinese economy is predominantly known for export-oriented economy. Okay, now if Chinese entire growth, Chinese double-digit growth, China is what? China is now 11 trillion economy. Okay, 11 trillion economy, right? 11 trillion economy, and we are some 2.5 trillion economy. China is 5 times bigger than India, right? So China is predominantly export-oriented economy. Okay, so their entire growth of China is because of their exports, right? Strong exports, more. Okay, so and China has some 3 trillion foreign exchange reserves. China has 3 trillion foreign exchange reserves, and India has 600 billion foreign exchange reserves. Compare 3 trillion and we have 600 billion foreign exchange reserves. China, so China is a predominantly export-oriented economy, but China also learned a mistake in 2008 financial crisis when US was slumped into recession and Europe slumped into recession. There is no demand for goods and services from China. There is no demand for goods and services from China when US slumped into recession in 2008. Within a month, Europe also slumped into recession. There is no demand for goods and services from China. China burnt its fingers. Arey Baba, I made galti kiya by depending upon exports. I need to follow like India. India is a strong domestic driven economy. Okay, so now China started focusing more on the domestic economy apart from exports, because if you depend upon exports, if the world economy is hit by recession or depression, then you are gone, you are killed and buried. Okay, you were gone and killed and buried. China learned this lesson in 2008. Arey Baba, I should not depend more on exports for my growth of the economy, because if developed countries like US, UK, or Europe, they slumped into recession, nobody would buy my goods. But nobody would buy my goods. China being export-oriented economy, all export industries will be collapsed. And in export industries are collapsed, there will be massive unemployment, and growth of the economy of China will suffer, the GDP will suffer, the national income will suffer, their consumption, everything will suffer, right? Because there are thousands of sectors, depend upon exports. If anything happens to their demand, okay, if anything happens to their export sector, all export industries will be collapsed. Clear, guys? Okay, clear. So if China is able to make use of natural resources very efficiently, because they're exporting to the world economy. Okay, it's a export economy, and specialization efficiency. The Chinese workers are more efficient than India. In fact, any other South Asian workers, they're very highly efficient in assembling, packing, designing, whatever they do. They're very highly efficient, specialized. Okay, China is able to export all electronic goods, electronic items machinery, solar power, solar items. Okay, so China is able to do well because of their specialization and efficiency of their workers. Okay, and low cost of production. Right now, if you're exporting for the world economy, your cost of production, average cost will be low. Average cost will be low. And precious, don't say precious, it's called precious. Okay, precious name, precious. Okay, now precious foreign exchange reserves. Okay, now euro, no, how you get foreign exchange reserves? Okay, only by exporting, and India crossed some 600 billion foreign exchange reserves. Okay, now you require foreign exchange reserves because to pay for your import bill, and if government of India borrowed money outside India, again you need to pay in foreign exchange reserves. There are firms in India, they borrow through external commercial borrowing, and you need to pay, you require foreign exchange reserves, right? So for imports of goods and services, if government of India borrowed any debt outside India, you need to pay in foreign exchange reserves. If our firms borrowed through ECB, external commercial borrowings, again you need to pay in dollars. So you require foreign exchange reserves. Okay, Mansha, export should be optimum level to like imports. Mansha, see, your export bill should take care. Your export bill should take care of your import bill. Okay, your export bill should take care of your import bill. Thank you for the feedback. I'm a passionate teacher. Okay, I teach with a lot of passion and emotion. Okay, I'm happy you're liking it. Okay. Okay, so clear, guys. So China changed their policy. Okay, China changed their growth policy that they learned from India. So when US and Europe in recession, China also suffered, India also suffered, but India suffered less because we have a strong domestic-driven economy. It means whatever goods are being produced in the country, being demanded within the country, China learned a lesson. Are Baba, like India, will also focus on domestic market, domestic demand. If anything happens with regard to world economy, still our domestic demand will take care of our companies or businesses. Clear? Now, generation of employment opportunities. Just imagine if we're able to perform well in exports. Just imagine there are so many export industries. Just imagine if demand for goods are increasing outside the market, then all export industries, they produce more. Once they need to produce more, means what? They're providing more employment opportunities for the economy and access to the new market and resource and technology, right? And if you're doing really well on export market, you get access to the new market, right? And you get access to new resources, and you get access to new technology. Okay, you get access to new technology, you get access to new resources, new technology, and it promotes investment. It promotes investment, right? Now, if you're doing well on export sector, so what happened? There'll be more investment. If exports are increasing, and firms will be encouraged to invest more, and promotes R&D, because when you're providing goods and services for the export market, what happened? You invest more in R&D, research and development, to try to develop the product service better than the other countries of the world, and large scale of production, right? Now, when you're not producing for the domestic Indian economy, you're exporting the commodity for the world economy. What happened? Large scale of production. Okay, volume of production is so huge, your average cost of production will come down. Okay, and international cooperation, right? Now, if a country is dealing with international trade, there will be a lot of cooperation. Okay, you see that India is helping. India provides some 100 billion to Sri Lanka, and India imported oil from Russia. Even though US is saying no, please don't borrow anything from Russia, India imported oil from Russia, because it's a kind of a cooperation, because countries are struggling. Okay, so Sri Lanka is a close friend of India. India is providing India's help may be less for Sri Lanka, but still India is providing some financial help. Okay, now IMF is coming forward to help Sri Lanka, and India is also by buying oil from Russia. It's also helping Russia. It's a kind of international cooperation. When you are indulged in international trade, it's a kind of a cooperation. Understanding will come among the countries. Clear, guys? Take that. Clear? Now arguments. अभी तक हम क्या बोला, इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड बहुत अच्छा है, but there are problems, right? There are problems. Okay, now what are the problems? Dependency on other countries. Okay, now if you keep on importing goods and services from other countries, when you are going to develop yourself, right? When your domestic industries will develop, okay, when your domestic industry is going to develop, they will never develop, because you keep on importing, then domestic industries will never develop. That's the reason why Narendra Modi, under production linked incentive scheme, asking India to produce mobile phones within the country, to produce TVs, other electronic goods in the country. Arey Baba, don't import from China. Let us indigenously manufacture solar panels, mobile phones, TVs. Okay, why do you import TVs, phones, solar panels from China? Why don't you import Atmanirbhar Bharat through production linked incentive scheme? Okay, we should not depend upon TVs, mobile phones, and solar and steel or other equipment, machinery from China and other countries. We indigenously manufacture these items. Okay, we indigenously manufacture these items. Clear? Now, if you keep on importing goods and services, what would happen? Domestic industries, they can't compete with the foreign goods. Okay, now they will never develop. So impediment means domestic countries, home industries will be affected. Okay, they cannot grow. They cannot grow and face the foreign competition. So they won't grow. Okay, they always look at government, Baba, mujhko bachao, because please don't import from China. Okay, so this is what happened. I'll give an example. Once, what happened? 2 years back, steel prices are very cheaper from India. Okay, steel prices are very cheaper from China in comparison with India. So what happened? All our firms in the country started importing steel from China because the price of the steel is very high in India. So what does government did? Everybody is importing steel from China. Who would buy steel from India? So what did Government of India did? Government of India imposed more import duties on Chinese steel, making it more expensive, and by making that, Government of India asked Indian firms buy steel domestically. Domestic steel price is very high. If I buy a domestic steel price, okay, what happened? My cost of production would go up for automobile industry, for construction industry, okay, for any other industry. So that's what I'm saying. And exhaustion of natural resources, okay. And if you're producing more for the world economy, even natural resources will be exhausted, okay, natural resources will be exhausted, exhausted. Okay, you see this distillery and Coca-Cola, Kingley. Okay, now they dug up groundwater so much. Kerala, and there is one place in Kerala, Kala Dera in Rajasthan. Groundwater got depleted. Okay, farmers are not able to cultivate the crop in Kerala and Kala Dera in Rajasthan because groundwater got depleted. Okay, distillery for domestic production only, exhausted groundwater. Just imagine if you're producing goods and services for the world economy, just imagine natural resources will be exhausted. Okay, now natural resources is not meant for us, it is meant for the future generation. Okay, we need future generations also should enjoy our natural resources. If you consume and deplete and destroy our natural resources, future generation will be in great trouble. Clear, sir? Muktavas, no country is self-defeated. International trade is required. I'm not said, okay? I'm not saying international trade is required, but don't be like China. Impediment means a kind of abstraction. And negative labor market outcomes. Okay, now if if you're indulging in international trade means what? We're going to use huge technology. Okay, when you are using technology, you are displacing labor. You are displacing labor. Okay, you are displacing labor who are skilled and semi-skilled or unskilled. You are displacing the labor because you are using technology. When you use technology, and all domestic labor will be no longer required. Trade conflicts. I told with international trade always involves some kind of a conflict with two countries. Something happens between two countries, they fight over their you see now China and India, because of Ladakh. In Ladakh, China tried to invade into Ladakh position of India, now resulting in trade between the two countries now suffered because of their political conflict. Trade also got affected. Shift in consumer culture. Okay, now if you depend upon international trade, okay, if you depend upon international trade and domestic culture, people always love to buy foreign goods, okay, and foreign clothes, okay, and foreign fashions. In the process, they ignore domestic goods and domestic garments. Okay, so if consumer always want to buy foreign goods, foreign items, okay, global injustice. Okay, it has been said that see developed countries, they dominate in the international trade, okay, and they exploit the advantages involved in the export of goods and services, and developed countries like India has never been able to compete with those countries. So developed countries have a strong advantage because they're good at technology, okay, and they're able to produce goods and services, supply across the globe. And developing countries like India, India lacks technology, unable to compete with the developed countries. Clear guys? Clear guys? Are you able to follow me? Clear guys? Okay, now lack of transparency, predictability with regard to international trade. Okay, this is another problem, right? And who regulates the trade in the world economy? WTO, World Trade Organization. The WTO has to ensure trade happens across all the member countries. Okay, but there is lack of transparency, predictability. Okay, so there's no, so something happens with something because of Ladakh invasion by China. It really affected the trade between the two countries. Now India banned some 57 apps of 48 apps of China, okay, including TikTok. China got angry. China also banned goods from India. Anything can happen. Okay, if a relationship between two countries suffers, then then they ban each other items, or they impose a lot of duties to discourage their product coming into the country, or they accuse each other product. Your product is causing environmental pollution, or your chicken quality is bad. Okay, they accuse each other. Okay, and if you're predominantly focusing on export, no, then you are not focusing on the domestic investment. Okay, domestic investment needs of the economy. If you keep on exporting goods and services, your investment will be more in those sectors where goods are being exported. But there are certain other sectors which requires actual investment. Okay, and maybe skipped. Okay. Now, export shortages, right? If India keeps on exporting goods and services, okay, it might lead to inflation. This is what happened, right? India always exported onions, okay, to other Asian countries. What happened? Suddenly there was shortage of onions, okay, resulting in increase in the price of onions. So if you keep on exporting, sometimes what happened? There may be shortage in the domestic economy, leading to increase in the inflation. Clear, guys? Clear, 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 guys? Okay. Now, theories of international trade. Okay, we're going to discuss theories of international trade. Theories of international trade. First one is mercantilism. Mercantilism. Okay, first theory of international trade. Okay, so it started in England, and they believed that wealth of the country is increased by exporting goods and services, and in return they receive gold and silver. Okay. This is the first theory of international trade. They believed that wealth of the country lies in gold and silver. Okay, by exporting goods and services, England would receive gold and silver from France. Okay, and so if I have more gold and silver, means I'm the most wealthiest country in the world. So the problem with this country is, so England received more gold and silver from France by exporting goods and services. And if I have more gold and silver, so resulting in more money supply. So we discussed, if there is more money supply, it leads to inflation. On the other hand, what happened? France, by importing goods and services from UK, England, okay, they supplied more gold and silver. So there is a decrease in money supply in France, and fall in price level. So fall in price level, and they stopped further importing goods and services from UK. They stopped importing further goods and services from UK. So this kind of a trade is called zero-sum game, where UK got benefited at the expense of France. We don't want this kind of international trade. Okay, trade is a positive-sum game where every country has a benefit out of international trade. So mercantilism is a zero-sum of game where UK, England try to exploit France. Okay, it's called zero-sum game. So this is not the correct method of carrying out international trade. Still, some countries in the world try to follow this method of international trade by exporting goods and services to other countries, and restricting imports from the other countries. This is also known as neo-mercantilism. Neo-mercantilism. Clear, guys? Clear? I'm happy you were able to follow me today. Clear, guys? Now we'll go to the second theory. Okay, we'll go to the second theory. Okay, absolute cost advantage theory. Okay, absolute cost advantage theory. Absolute cost advantage theory. Okay, and Adam Smith put forward this absolute cost advantage theory, and Adam Smith says trade is not a zero-sum game, and everybody should have the stake in the trade, international trade. So he put forward this theory. Okay, and according to him, a country will specialize in the production of export of good in which it has a absolute cost advantage. Okay, so lower production cost. Okay, and import goods and services from other country in which it has a cost disadvantage. Okay, so a country will specialize in production export of good in which it has an absolute cost advantage, and import goods and services from other country in which it has a cost disadvantage. Okay, so this theory, okay, assumes a 2x2 model. There are two countries are there. Okay, we have taken two countries here, India and Iraq, and we have taken two goods here, and rice and oil. Okay, now this, and I put the data in the form of a table. Okay, look at this table. Okay, look at this table. Okay, look at here. So I have taken country India, Iraq, number of labor hours required per unit, rice, okay, 10 per unit, okay, and for oil 20 unit, and Iraq rice 20 per unit, and number of labor hours required for oil is 10 units. It's very clear. So look at this table. If you look at this table, India has an absolute advantage in the production and export of rice, and India has a India has a cost disadvantage with regard to oil. Okay, or Iraq has absolute cost advantage in the production and export of oil to India, and Iraq has a cost disadvantage with regard to rice. Okay, with regard to rice. So price. So what is the outcome of this theory? India should produce and export rice to Iraq, okay, because in which it has a absolute cost advantage, and import oil from Iraq, okay, in which it has a cost disadvantage. In which it has a cost disadvantage. Clear? Clear, guys? See, zero-sum game means under mercantilism, England is exporting goods and services to France, okay, and collecting gold and silver, okay, and gold and silver, okay, and their money supply increasing, and increasing money supply leads to increasing price level UK. On the other hand, France, while importing goods and services from England, they're supplying gold and silver. Their money supply is gold and silver supply is decreasing, leading to decreasing money supply, falling price level. It means किसको फायदा हो रहा है? यूके को फायदा हो रहा है, फ्रांस को नुकसान हो रहा है. ओके, सो एक कंट्री को फायदा हो रहा है, दूसरा कंट्री को नुकसान हो रहा है. इट्स कॉल्ड जीरो सम गेम. Okay, where one country gains at the expense of other country. Where one country gains at the expense of other country, that's called zero-sum game. Clear? Jaspreet and Mukta Vyas. Okay. Now this absolute cost advantage we discussed. Okay. Now Ricardo put forward comparative cost advantage theory. Ricardo put forward comparative cost advantage theory. Comparative cost advantage theory. Ricardo put forward comparative cost advantage theory. Okay. Okay. So he did not agree with Adam Smith. Okay. He says trade does not arise because of absolute cost advantage. He says trade arises because of comparative cost advantage in both the countries. Okay. Comparative cost advantage in both the countries. Jesham, see, India, I can't say India is one of the biggest manufacturers of production of milk. Okay, India might have a cost advantage with regard to other countries. Okay, so Ricardo says, so trade rises not because of absolute cost advantage, because of comparative cost advantage between the two countries. Okay, so according to Ricardo, a country will specialize in the production and export of good in which it has a relative comparative cost advantage. Okay, and depend upon the imports from other countries in which it has a relative cost disadvantage. Okay, so we have taken Hitesh, you write theories in your own language, no problem, but you have to give the table and give explanation. Nothing wrong, you can write your own language, not an issue. Okay, so we have taken two countries here, France and US. So both countries produce cloth and wine respectively. Look at here. Okay, we've taken two countries here. So 1 hour number of units being produced. Okay, France, US. So 1 hour France could produce 5 units of cloth, 10 units of wine, and US produced 20 units of cloth and 20 units of wine. Okay, 20 units of cloth and 20 units of cloth and 20 units of wine. Okay, this is a table. Now look at this table. If you look at this table, and US has an absolute advantage in the production of both the commodities, right? Because 2020, right? In 1 hour, they're able to produce more. Okay. Okay. US has an absolute advantage in the production of both the commodities, both cloth and wine, but we are not interested in absolute advantage here. Okay, we are interested in comparative cost advantage. Okay, now we are interested in comparative cost advantage. Okay, now to discuss comparative cost advantage, we need to bring into account a concept called opportunity cost. Okay, opportunity cost. Okay, so you need to bring into account opportunity cost. Okay, so if you bring opportunity cost into picture, then you can calculate comparative cost advantage. An absolute advantage, US has both the advantage in both the commodities. We are not interested in absolute cost advantage. We are interested in comparative cost advantage. Okay, so look at here. So see, France can produce 5 units of cloth or 10 units of wine. US can produce 20 units of cloth or 20 units of wine. Okay, so I told US has absolute advantage in the production of both the commodities. Okay, but what we are interested in is comparative cost advantage. Okay, now I told to discuss comparative cost advantage, we need to discuss. We need to bring in opportunity cost. Okay, we need to bring in a term called opportunity cost. Right, now look at opportunity cost. So look at this table. To produce 1 unit of cloth for France is equal to 2 units of weight. 1 unit of cloth is equal to 2 units of weight, and 1 unit of weight is equal to 1/2 of cloth. Okay, 1 unit of cloth is equal to 2 units of weight. Look at this table. 1 unit of cloth is equal to 2 units of weight, and 1 unit of weight is equal to of cloth, 1/2 of cloth. Okay, now this is for France. Now let us discuss US. US is what? 1 unit of cloth is equal to 1 unit of weight, and 1 unit of weight is equal to 1 unit of cloth. This is what we're measuring opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. I repeat again. For US, for France, 1 unit of cloth is equal to 2 units of weight. Okay, so and for France, 1 unit of cloth is equal to of 1/2 cloth of cloth. Similarly, for US, 1 unit of cloth is equal to 1 unit of weight, and for US again, 1 unit of weight is equal to 1 unit of cloth. Okay, 1 unit of cloth. Okay, now to compare this. Now look at this. Just compare this data closely. If you compare this data, US has comparative advantage in the manufacturing of cloth, and France has a comparative advantage in the manufacturing of weight. So if you compare the opportunity cost, you can clearly see that US has a comparative advantage in the manufacturing of cloth, and France has a comparative advantage in the manufacturing of weight. So what US should do? US should produce, export. US should produce, export cloth to France and import wine from France. Okay, import wine from France. So in which France enjoys comparative cost advantage. Clear, guys? All of you are with me? Clear? Clear, guys? So we discussed France as a comparative cost advantage in wine, United States as comparative advantage in cloth. Okay. So we'll move to Ikser-Wohlin theory of trade. Ikser-Wohlin theory of Amriti Paul. See, absolute cost advantage we are taking based upon the absolute values that are present there. In comparative cost advantage, we are considering the opportunity cost. Okay, opportunity cost. Whichever country opportunity cost is low, that country exports that good. Very clearly explained. Mukta was in absolute cost advantage there, we are taking absolute value of the items in the table. In comparative cost advantage, we are considering the opportunity cost. Okay. Now the Ixer volume theory of trade. The Ixer and volume theory of trade. Okay. Now, so this theory can be explained in two ways. Okay, Vogelin trade theorem and factor price equalization theorem. Okay, this theory can be explained two ways. Vogelin trade theory theorem, Ixer-Vogelin trade theorem, and factor price equalization theorem. Okay, the Ixer and Vogelin theory can be explained two ways: Ixer and Vogelin trade theorem and factor price equalization theorem. Factor price equalization theorem. Okay, now look at here. You take UK, you take US. Okay, you take any developed country, you take Germany, you take Italy. Okay, these countries are known for what? Capital rich. Capital rich means what? Capital means what here? Missionary. Okay, capital means not money here. Capital means missionary. They're US, okay, Europe, okay, and you take UK and all these countries, they have a capital rich. Okay, capital rich, and they are labor shy. Okay, labor shy. Okay, SHY shy. Okay, labor shy means labor deficient. Okay, labor shy means, hey, learn this word. I love this word. Labor shy means labor deficient. Okay, so no, that is the reason by what US is strong in capital and shortage or scarcity with regard to labor. What US and other developed countries of Germany, UK, what they do, they specialize in production and export of capital intensive goods and import from India all those goods which are labor intensive. Okay, so this is how countries do indulge in trade. Okay, sorry. Okay, Mansha, which theory is more accurate, and which theory we should recommend to the organization? You are not recommending to the organization. Okay, this is how international trade has been evolved. Okay, there are several international trade theories have been developed, and trade has undergone changes. Okay, these are the various trade. These are the theories. Okay, and now this may not be actually been implemented in real life, right? Real life is what we want to export goods, and that's all. And we export goods which you have more in which are surplus with us. The goods which you are lacking, we import. Okay, these are the theories. Okay, these are the theories. Okay, no theory can be applied to any country. Okay, these are the proposed theories of international trade. Okay. Mukta Vyas explained very clearly under comparative cost advantage, we compare opportunity cost. Okay, so opportunity cost for cloth is lower US compared to France. That's why US exports US specializes production of export of cloth to France. Okay. So repeat again. So capital rich countries, they specialize in the production of capital intensive goods. Okay, so all machinery, technology, okay, mobile phones, okay, and all capital intensive goods, right? And they import from India gems, jewelry, handicrafts, okay, because they're labor intensive goods. Okay, so this is what Ixer-Mohelim theory of theorem. Okay, so capital rich countries, they specialize in the production and export of capital intensive goods and import goods from developing countries, labor intensive goods such as gems, jewelry, handicrafts. Okay, and this kind of products they import from developing countries like India. Clear? Now, the question is, we said developed countries like Italy, Germany, US, UK, they're the capital rich countries. What is the proof? Okay, what is the proof? Okay, how do you prove that developed countries like UK, US, Italy, Germany, they are capital rich countries? Okay, so how you prove this? So for this, there is a test called relative factor abundance. Relative factor abundance. Relative factor abundance. Okay, so factor abundance is what? Two factors we're considering here: capital, labor. We are saying that developed countries are capital rich, developing countries are labor rich. So how do you prove this? Thus, the developed countries are capital rich. Developed countries are capital rich. Okay, so how do you prove this? How do you prove this? Okay, so two criteria. Okay, factor prices and factor prices and factor proportions and factor endowments. Okay, factor prices one test and factor proportions or factor endowments. Factor endowments. Factor prices and factor proportions or factor endowments physical test. So first we're considering factor prices. Okay, so we consider two countries, X and Y. Okay, and two factors. So we're considering two factors only, labor and capital. Okay, labor and capital. Capital is denoted by K, labor is denoted by L. Labor is denoted by L. So if price of capital upon price of labor in country X less than price of capital upon price of labor in country Y, based upon this equation, we can say that capital is cheap in X country, labor is expensive. Okay, so I repeat again, we are considering two countries, X and Y. We are considering two factors, capital and labor, K and L, and we are comparing the prices of capital labor in both countries, X and Y. If the equation is PK upon PK by PL, PK by PL in X less than PK by PL in Y. Based upon this, we can say that country X is capital cheap, labor is expensive. Okay, so based upon this, we are able to say X country is capital abundant, labor deficient country. Okay, labor deficient country. Okay, clear? Now, factor proportions or factor endowments test. 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 Okay, okay. Factor proportions or factor endowments test. Factor proportions or factor endowment test. Okay. Okay, so physical test. Okay, here we're considering what? Physical quantities of labor and capital. In earlier we considered prices of factors of production. Here we're considering physical factors of labor and capital. And okay, now physical quantity. Okay, physical quantities. Okay, so we are not considering prices here. We're considering absolute quantities of labor and capital to compare which country has capital more, which country has labor rich, which country has capital more, which country has labor rich. Okay, so we have taken two countries here. We have taken two countries here, country X and country Y. Country X and country Y. Okay, now look at here. Country X capital how much? 100 units. Okay, now labor 50 units. Okay, okay, labor is 50 units. Capital 100 units, labor 50 units. Okay. Now country Y, capital 150 units and labor 100 units. Okay. So we have taken two countries here, country X and country Y. Country X, capital 100 units, labor 50 units, and country Y, capital 150 units, labor 100 units. Okay. Now, if you compare both the countries, okay, in absolute terms, uh, uh, we're considering relative factor endowments here, right? Not in absolute terms. Okay. Okay. We're considering physical quantities in relative factor, relative proportions, not in the absolute quantities. Okay. In absolute terms, we can say that country Y has more capital. Okay, look at here. Country Y has more capital, more labor. Country Y has more capital and more labor. Country Y has more capital, more labor. Okay, so but in relative terms, to compare relative terms, you see that country X 2 times capital of labor, right? They have 100 units of capital, 50 units of labor. So their capital is 2 times of their labor. Okay, 2 times of the labor. Now, if you compare country Y, their labor is 2/3 of the capital. So 100 by 150. Okay, 2/3 of the capital. Okay, 2/3 of the capital. Okay, so absolute terms, if you compare, we can say country Y is stronger both capital and labor, but we are comparing here relative factor proportions. Okay, okay, your physical quantities we're considering. Okay, so considering physical quantities, country X has capital 2 times of their labor, and country Y labor is 2/3 of 2/3. How we get 2/3? 100 upon 150. Okay, 2/3 of the capital. Okay, okay, 2/3 of the capital. 2/3 of the capital. Clear? So clear? Same thing I'm explaining here. So factor proportions is very important. Okay, factor proportions is very important. Okay, based upon factor proportions, we can say country X is stronger in capital, country Y is stronger in labor. So country X should focus on capital intensive good and country Y should focus on labor intensive good in carrying out their international trade. Clear, guys? Clear? Clear? Are able to get me, all of you? Clear? Okay. Now, factor equalization theorem. Factor equalization theorem. Factor equalization theorem. Okay. So, factor equalization theorem. Okay. It's a very interesting theorem. Okay. Factor equalization theorem. Okay. This theorem says if factor prices of if the prices of factor output, the price of output of goods, okay, the prices of output of goods are equalized in between the two countries engaged in free trade, their factor inputs prices also will be equalized. Repeat again. Please follow me here. Okay. Try to follow me here. Two countries you are taking here. Okay, two countries, country 1, country 2. Okay, if prices of output of goods are equalized in both country 1 and country 2, it means you are also equalizing factor input prices in both the countries. Try to follow me here. What you are equalizing here? We are equalizing two things here: country 1, country 2. Okay. Now country 1 is producing one good. Okay. Okay. Now the price of that good. I just use a table here. 1 second. Whiteboard. Try to follow me here. Okay. So we're taking country 1. Okay. And we're taking country 2. So it's coming here. Country 2, country 1. Okay. Producing. Okay. X capital intensive good. Capital intensive good. Capital intensive good. Okay. Capital intensive good. So it has a price. It has a price. It carries price. Okay. Similarly, country 2 is producing labor intensive good, okay, called Y. So it also carries price. Okay, it also carries. Are you able to understand me here? It also carries price. So what this theory is saying that price of X will be equalized to price of Y. Price of X will be equalized to price of V. Okay. Okay. When prices are equalized, when prices are equalized, which also means input prices in both the countries are equalized. Okay, try to follow me here. We're taking 2 countries, country 1, country 2. Okay, now country 1 is producing only capital intensive good. Okay, so when you produce capital intensive good, it carries the price. Now country 2 is strong in labor, so it is also producing good. It also carries a price. So when prices of goods of both capital and labor produced goods are equalized, which also means inputs used in both the countries, their prices also equalized. Their prices also equalized. Okay, this is what I want to clear. Clear, guys? So this is what I'm going to explain. Okay. So share back the screen. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm explaining. So prices of output of goods are equalized. Price of inputs also equalized on a condition that whatever technology they're using, production methods that they're using, and they assume perfect competition. You know, perfect competition? Perfect competition means free movement of goods and services, no restriction, and all factors of production, labor, capital, land, entrepreneur, they carry same return. Okay, so same return. So perfect competition means what? Free movement of goods and services, production methods are same, technology is same, and perfect competition, free movement of factors of production, they carry same remuneration. Okay, They carry same remuneration means what? In both the countries, labor wage cost is same. Both the countries, interest on capital is same. Both the countries, rent on the land is same. Both the countries, entrepreneur gets the same profit. Okay, so this assumption. Okay, so country one, country two. Okay, so their production method, technology, and it also assumes perfect competition. Perfect competition means free movement of goods, free movement of factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Okay, free movement of land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. It means whether you are whether labor is in Delhi or Jaipur or Hyderabad, same wages. Okay, whether you have land in Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta, or Chennai, the rent is same. Whether you have a capital in Mumbai, Calcutta, interest on capital is same. Okay, and whether you are an entrepreneur in Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta, and Bangalore, the profit is same. That is why there is no example for perfect competition. Perfect competition, there is no real life example. Okay, perfect competition is theoretical. Okay, how can land rent is same in Mumbai and Jaipur? Mumbai is more expensive than Jaipur. Okay, how land rent is same in Jaipur and Chennai? No, Chennai is more expensive than Jaipur. How land rent is same in Bangalore? It's only theoretical. Okay, theoretical. And also assuming that labor and capital are homogeneous. How labor can be? Labor in Jaipur is different from labor in Mumbai. Labor in Bangalore is different from Pune. Okay, so only theoretical assumptions. It's only theoretical assumption. And homogeneous and productive. Homogeneous and productive. Homogeneous and productive. Okay, so country one is labor rich. Country, so I've taken opposite example. Okay, and capital poor. And country two is completely opposite. Country one is labor rich. Whereas country one is labor rich, and country and capital poor. And country two is opposite means what? Country two is capital rich and labor poor. Labor poor. Okay, now. Okay, now, so before the trade actually starts, okay, before the trade actually starts between the two countries, country one, the ratio of wage rate and interest W by R in labor abundant country is lower because they have more labor. So wage rate is very low compared to country two. Country two. So when trade starts, when trade starts, when trade starts, what happened? Country one is a labor intensive country. They start producing more labor intensive good. Okay, so when they produce labor intensive good, okay, and they increase the production of X labor intensive good and decrease the production of Y, which is capital intensive good. Clear? Clear, guys? Okay, I repeat again. This theory assumes that output of prices of goods in both price of goods in labor country. See, we have taken two countries. I repeat again. Okay, I repeat again with this example. Okay, I'll take example. Okay, so we're taken country one. Okay, labor rich country. Which good they produce? X good. Okay, country Y, country two, capital rich country and labor poor country. Which good they produce? Which good they produce? Y. Okay, labor rich country and capital poor country. So this theory says This theory says, okay, price of X and price of Y will be equalized. Okay, and if prices of goods are equalized, then the prices of inputs, okay, that is labor and capital, will also be equalized. Will also be equalized. Clear? Will also be equalized. How it is equalized, we're discussing. Right now, this theory assumes labor and capital are homogeneous, equally productive, and production technology is same, and it assumes perfect competition. Perfect competition means free movement of labor, capital, okay, all factors of production, okay, labor and capital. So free movement. So labor, whether you work as a labor in Jaipur or Chennai, wage rate is same. That is not real in real life, but this theory assumes, okay, whether you have a capital in Chennai or Bombay, the interest on capital is same. Interest on capital is same. Interest on capital is same. Okay, now look at here. Explained again well. Now, before trade happens between country 1, country 2, country 1 is a labor rich country, capital poor country. Country 2 is capital rich country and labor poor country. Okay. Now, before trade happens in country 1, labor rich country means what? And wage rate is lower in country 1 because they have more labor. So wage rate is lower in country 1 in comparison with the lower than the country 2. So when trade starts, okay, trade starts between country 1, country 2. So when trade starts, country 1, labor abundant country, start producing more labor intensive goods. As a result, the demand for labor increases, and demand for labor increases, wage rate increases, and there is no demand for capital. Interest on capital declines. Interest on capital declines. Okay, so interest on capital declines. Okay, so what happened? What happened finally in country 1? W by R before the trade decline actually increases. How it increases? They start producing labor intensive good. So when they start producing labor intensive good, demand for labor increases, and they don't require capital. Demand for capital, rate of interest falls, and finally W by R, wage by interest rate, increases because of the trade. Now country B. Okay, country B is what? Country 2 is known for capital rich and poor labor. So when they start producing Y good, okay, which is more capital intensive, the demand for capital increases. When demand for capital increases, interest rate rises, and there is no demand for labor. The demand for labor and wage rate declines in country 2. So W by R declines in country 2. So exactly opposite happens in country 2. Okay, country 2. So as trade develops between these two countries, the factor prices, okay, that is wage rate and interest rates between the two countries narrows down, and finally any gap between them vanishes. Okay, so finally factor prices gets equalized. Clear, guys? I'll explain again. Okay, please listen to me. Okay, I'll explain again. Please, this is a very difficult chapter. Okay, I'm explaining. Okay, you need to understand what I'm teaching. Okay, now, so let me erase this, please. Okay, so before trade, what happened? Country 1, okay, This is a labor rich country. So WPR is low in comparison with country 2, which is capital rich country. Okay. Now, as trade starts, what happens in country A? Demand for labor increases. Demand for labor, because they're producing labor intensive. Okay, demand for labor increases means what? Wage rate increases. They don't require capital, so interest on capital declines. So finally, what happened in country 1? Okay, WPR increases. Now country 2, what they're producing? They're producing capital intensive good. Capital intensive good. What good it is? Why? Okay, when they produce capital intensive good, the demand for capital increases, rate of interest for the capital increases, and on the other hand, demand for labor falls. Okay, and wage rate falls. So WP by R declines in country 2. Okay, so as trade develops between country 1 and country 2, the gap between prices of goods X and Y, okay, narrows and vanishes. Okay, and prices of goods X and Y are equalized. Clear, guys? Price of goods X and Y equalized. I repeat again, same thing I explained again. Okay, good here. Difficult theory you need to understand. Okay, I made simple notes here for you guys to understand. So repeat it. Okay, repeat it. Labor upon country is lower because they have more labor, less capital. So wage rate is lower. Okay, so comparison with the country 2. When trade starts in country 1, first trade starts in country 1. So when trade starts country 1, they're producing labor intensive good. The demand for labor increases. It means wage rate increases. The demand for capital falls. Interest rate falls. So finally, WPR increases in country 1. Okay, WPR increases in country 1. Similarly, in country 2, when they start producing Y capital intensive good, demand for capital increases and rate of interest increases and demand for labor falls, wage rate falls. Finally, WPR ratio declines in country 2. Okay, so just opposite happens in country 2. So as trade develops between country A and country B, country 1 and country 2 is producing labor intensive good, and country 1 producing labor intensive good, country 2 producing capital intensive good. As they keep on producing one good, what happened over a period of time? The prices of goods of X and Y, the gap vanishes. Okay, and vanishes. This is what I want to explain. Clear? Difficult, guys. You need to understand this. Okay, I explained. I made a beautiful PPT. Okay, and my suggestion is tonight you read this. Okay, and I explained so well. Okay, I repeat again whole thing again for you. Okay, I'm explaining again whole thing. Okay, you need to understand this. Very difficult. You need to visualize this. See, we are assuming 2 countries, country 1, country 2. Country 1 is what? Labor rich country. Okay, now when I say country 1 labor rich country means country 1 is capital poor. Now country 2 is capital rich country means what? Labor poor country. Okay, now we assume we assume they enjoy both labor and capital have same are homogeneous and carry same productive efficiency, and they have same technology, and they follow perfect competition. What is perfect competition? Labor and capital can move from country 1 to country 2, country 2 to country 1, and they can move freely. They can move freely. Wherever they go, they get same interest, same wages. So before trade starts, country 1 has more labor, country 1 has more labor and less capital. So obviously W by R low in comparison with the country 2. As in country 1, as trade develops, right? Now they start producing X good. Okay, they start producing X labor intensive good. Demand for labor increases. Okay, so demand for labor increases, then wage rate also increases. They don't want capital, so demand for capital falls and interest rate falls. So W by R increases in country A. Now trade starts in country 2. So trade starts in country 2, they demand more capital. Okay, so they're producing Y good, they got more capital. They need more capital. As demand for capital increases, rate of interest increases. Capital will come from even country 1 also to country 2. Okay, earlier labor would have come from country 2 to country 1. Similarly, capital also would come from, because country 1 doesn't require any capital. So capital would come from country 1 to country 2, because they don't need capital. Capital comes from country 1 to country 2, and demand for capital increases, rate of interest increases. They don't require wages, and wage rate falls. So WPR declines. Okay, so completely opposite happens in country 2. Okay, now as trade expands, the gap between both the countries vanishes. Okay, the factor prices W by R, okay, in both the countries narrows down and eventually vanishes. Eventually vanishes. Clear, guys? Okay. Now let me give a recap what all we discussed till now. Okay, so we discussed what is international trade, why it is highly complex. Okay, and I discussed difference between internal trade, international trade, arguments in favor of international trade, and arguments against international trade. And we discussed what is mercantilism, zero-sum game you should remember here. An absolute advantage, we are taking absolute values here. We are taking absolute values. It's very clear. India has an absolute advantage here, and Iraq has absolute advantage in oil. So comparative advantage, how do you know comparative advantage? By comparing opportunity cost. This is what opportunity cost. 1 unit of cloth is equal to 2 units of wine. Compare this data, boss. 1 unit of cloth. Okay, 1 hour you produce 1 unit of cloth. They're producing 2 units of wine. Okay, so similarly, if they're producing one unit of wine in 1 hour, is 1/2 of the cloth for France. Similarly, for US, if they produce 1 hour, 1 unit of 1 unit of cloth, they could also produce 1 unit of wine. They could produce 1 unit of wine, 1 unit of cloth. I explained so well. Okay, clear? So comparative cost advantage. Then we discussed Ixer-Mohill theory of international trade. Okay, capital-rich country should export capital-intensive items and import labor-intensive good. Now, how do you know whether the country has a more capital or not? You compare the price of capital labor. Okay, and we also conducted one more test known as factor proportions. Okay, so where we don't take absolute values, we take factor proportions into account. Okay, so based upon this also we can say that country X is capital rich and country Y is labor rich, and they should produce country X should produce capital intensive good and country Y should produce labor intensive good. Okay, so we discussed. Then factor equalization theorem, just now I explained. Okay, so this also explained. So over a period of time, factor prices of output of goods and services, price of X by price of Y, will whatever little gap is there, it will get narrowed down, equalized in the over a period of time. Okay, Any doubts? Any doubts, please? You need to read to write, okay? I explained it very simply, it's a very simple manner, okay? You need to understand this, okay? Very important. Mixed and volume theory trade is very important. You need to understand that. So can you take a break here? Hello? Hello? Can you take a break? Yes, yes. Welcome back after the break, and let me take you through what we discussed till now. Again, I want to give a recap. So we discussed introduction of international trade, why it is complex. We discussed. Okay, we discussed difference between international trade, internal trade, and arguments in favor of international trade. Okay, and 10 arguments are there. Why arguments against international trade also we discussed. Okay, now we discussed different theories of international trade. First one we discussed is the mercantilism. Okay, then we discussed absolute cost advantage theory. Absolute cost advantage theory, Adam Smith. We're taking absolute values here. Okay, absolute values here. Then we discussed comparative cost advantage theory. We compared the opportunity cost of weight and cloth in both the countries. Okay, then we discussed Hixer-Mohelin theory of international trade. Capital-rich countries will always produce and export capital-intensive good and import labor-intensive good from the other countries. Okay. Then how do you know that US, UK, Italy are capital-rich countries? We have a factor. We compare factor prices in both the countries. So based upon factor prices, we're able to say that US is capital cheap compared to India, right? So we also consider physical factors. Okay, physical factors. Okay, factor proportion in both the countries. Here, based upon factor proportions comparison, we are able to say that X is capital rich country should produce and export capital intensive good, and Y is a labor abundant country should produce and export labor intensive good. Okay. Okay. Then we discussed factor equalization theorem. Okay, factor equalization theorem. This theorem says that price of X and price of Y. Okay, price of X, price of Y will be equal to the input cost in both the countries. What is input cost? Wage rate and labor. So we compared here that we found out here that as trade between country 1, country 2 develops, the factor input cost prices ratio gap declined because country 1 wants more labor. They get from within the country and from country 2, and country 2 wants more capital. They get capital within the country and unutilized capital in country 1. Over a period of time, the factor price ratios or the gap between factor price ratios or gap will be narrowed and equalized. Okay. So factor equalization theorem, there is one more alternative explanation. Alternative explanation. Okay, so alternative explanation. Okay, so country 1 is a labor abundant country, country 2 is capital abundant. Okay, and again we assume perfect competition, and all factor inputs, labor and capital are homogeneous, and free mobility of factors of production, and they use same technology. Okay, so this theory says brings equality between the price of factors of production, price of products of X and Y. Country X, labor abundant country, and it is producing X labor intensive good, and Y country is a capital rich country, it is producing Y capital intensive good. Okay, so country 1, labor abundant country, it is producing capital X good. So what happens? They produce only labor intensive good capital X. What happened? And price of X by price of Y increases in country 1 and declines in country 2. What happens? Country 2 opposite. Country 2 is country 2 is a labor capital rich country. It is producing capital intensive good. What happens? Price of X increases in country 2. Okay, and declines in country increases in country 2 till what happened? One period of time, price of X by price of Y will be equalized in both the countries. When price of X, price of Y are equal, then the respective factor inputs, that is wage rate and capital input price also will be equalized. Input price also will be equalized. Repeat again this theory. Try to follow me here. We have taken two countries here. Explain with the table. Okay. So country 1, labor rich. So produces X good. Country 2, a capital rich means labor poor. Okay. You need to know, right? And capital poor. And country 2, capital rich and labor poor. So country 1 is producing X good, and country 2 is producing Y good. Okay, as country 1 produces more X good, price of X, price of Y increases in country X, in country 1. In country 2, what happens? They're producing labor intensive good. Price of X by price of Y by price of X increases in country 2 because they're producing Y good. So over a period of time, what happens? The ratio of prices, that is price of X, the price of Y will be equal to, okay, price of wages, ratio of input prices, price of wages by and capital. Capital we are writing K. Yes. Okay. The ratio of prices will be equal. Ratio of price of both the goods in both the countries will be equal to their input cost. Okay. This is what we are discussing. So over a period of time, the price of X, price of Y, okay, and will be equal in both the countries, and corresponding to that we see rate of interest R. Sorry, R. Okay, I need to mention R. That is W by R, rate of interest. No, okay, I need to do correction. Okay. So price of X by price of Y will be equal to input cost, wages by rate of interest, small r. Clear, guys? You had to learn this, no other option. Okay. Read my notes, and any doubts next class you can ask me. Now, differences between comparative cost advantage theory, modern theory of international trade. We are comparing both the theories. Somebody asked me differences, I'm comparing. Okay. Okay. So trade arises to difference between the comparative cost, right? We took opportunity cost, no? So difference arises because of comparative cost. But modern theory trades is difference arises because of factor endowment. Some countries have more capital, some countries have labor. Based upon labor theory of value, okay? We discussed no labor theory of value. We discussed comparative cost advantage, labor theory of value. See, we taken labor, okay? We've taken labor, 1 unit of labor here, okay, labor. But here we're considering the money cost, okay, incurred on each, because you have to pay for labor, you have to pay wages. For capital, you have to pay interest. It's a money cost. We're considering that. So here, one factor model considers only labor as a sole factor. Here, we are considered both labor and capital. Trade treats international trade as a quite distinct from, different from domestic trade. But modern theory considers international trade is only a special case of inter-regional trade or inter-local trade. Because of differences in international trade, inter-regional trade arises. Okay, studies only comparative cost of the goods concerned, comparative cost. Okay, here we're considering relative price of factors. Okay, we are comparing factors of both labor and capital. Attributes the difference in comparative advantage to differences in productive efficiency of the workers. Okay, we are saying that we're saying that no here we're saying that France is good at productioning vein, and France workers are good at manufacturing vein. US workers are good at manufacturing cloth. Okay. Now here, differences in comparative advantage due to differences in factor endowments. Okay, here we're comparing some countries are labor rich, some countries are capital rich. Okay, this theory does not take into account difference in factor prices. Okay, so factor price is not considering labor as a different factor price, capital is different price. So it considers factor prices is the main reason for the differences. And does not provide the cost difference in comparative cost advantage. Okay, so it explains the difference in trade because of the difference in factor endowments, and it is normative. Okay, tries to demonstrate the gains from international trade. It positive because concentrates on the basis of trade. These are the major differences. Clear, guys? Clear? Clear? So this difference also very important question for the exam. Now, last theory of international trade. Okay. Modern theory of international trade. New trade theory. Okay. New trade theory. Okay, new trade theory. New trade theory says, first a country, what happens, focus on the domestic production. Okay, now domestic market is small. I can't produce variety of goods. Okay, when I don't produce variety of goods because the domestic market is small, and I can't have large scale of production, my average cost is high because I'm producing only limited goods, not variety of goods, because my domestic market is small and I don't have the economies of scale and low average cost, and whatever little goods I'm producing at a high average cost, or not at all I'm producing at all, and a variety of goods are not available to the consumer. Okay, now this is what happens when you are focusing on the domestic market. Now, when nations involved in trade, when countries involved in trade, what happened? The world market goes bigger. World market goes. Okay, when countries, individuals across all the countries involved in trade, national market moves bigger. And what happened when the entire national market goes bigger, for countries, the countries produce wide variety of goods, then they enjoy large economies of scale. Average cost will fall. Okay, average cost will fall. Okay, and these countries, they're able to produce for the global market, and they enjoy economies of scale, and they also indulge in export. Okay, they also indulge in export. Okay, though So when country economies of scale, production scale, average cost low, what happen? Countries, what they do, they try to export the product in which they have economies of scale, low average cost to other countries, and import the products from the other countries in which they have a cost advantage. They have a cost advantage. Okay, this theory also considers first mover advantage. Okay, first mover advantage. Okay, so countries, firms which move which makes a first move, they enjoy economies of scale and low cost of production and will capture export market. So they may dominate the export market. They may dominate the export market. So you say, for example, Airbus, Boeing, they dominate the export market because Airbus, Boeing are two companies. Okay, they capture the export market through economies of scale, low average cost. So this is what the new trade theory says. Clear, guys? Any doubts? Hello, any doubts? So, this new trade theory. Okay. Repeat again new trade theory before, because this is the end of the unit. New trade theory means first a country focus on the domestic market. Okay, first a country focus on domestic market. They can't produce variety of goods because domestic market is small. I can't produce variety of goods, and because my average cost is very high, or I may not produce all the goods because domestic market is small. Okay, so I'm not able to produce variety of goods. But when nations involve in trade, okay, when countries involved in trade, the national markets becomes bigger. Then when I start producing for national markets, my production increases, my economies of scale increases, my average cost low. So I can specialize in the production of a narrow variety of goods. Okay, narrow variety of goods. Okay, such as pharma. India is good at pharma, computer software, automobiles. Okay, because I specialize when national market goes bigger, I specialize in narrow variety of goods such as automobile and software and automobile and pharma, because I focus on the narrow market of segment, and these goods I export and take benefit from the other countries. Okay, they take benefit from the other countries. Okay, and moreover, this theory also considers first mover advantage. This theory also considers first mover advantage. Okay, a firm which moves first in the world market, okay, as an advantage of economies of scale, low average cost, it captures the export market. Okay, so best example are Airbus, Boeing dominates the export market. Okay, so this is what the new trade theory. Any doubts? Any doubts here? Any doubts? Clear, guys? Any doubts? Hitesh, I can't say new trade theory is one more theory. Okay, one more. Don't. I'm not saying all theories emphasis on international trade only. It's one of the new theories. That's it. One of the new theories. It's one of the new theories. That's it. I can't say. Okay. Clear. Now, explain Adam Smith absolute cost advantage theory. You need to draw the table and explain. International trade arises due to comparative cost advantage than absolute cost advantage. So you need to draw that table which we discussed and use that opportunity cost. Explain how Portugal has advantage in wine and US has advantage in cloth. And how external theorem and factor equalization theorem are related to each other. That's okay. We explain, no, we discuss nicely. Write a note on new trade theory of international trade. The differences between comparative cost advantage and modern theory of international trade. Okay. Now, some true or false questions. Please write your answers. Absolute cost advantage theory of international trade leads to zero-sum game. True or false? Absolute cost advantage theory of international trade leads to zero-sum game. True or false? True or false? Please give me your answer. First one. Second question is comparative cost advantage theory explains in terms of factor endowments. Third question, true or false? Factor endowments will be different in countries according to Ixer-Whelan theory of international trade. Fourth, according to new trade theory, a country focuses first on foreign trade, later on domestic market. New trade considers opportunity cost as part of their international trade. Write your answers. I'm waiting. Guys, write your answers. What is the answer for first one? Absolute cost advantage theory leads to zero-sum game. No, false. Comparative cost advantage theory explains in terms of factor endowments. False. Factor endowments will be different in two countries according to Ixer-Whelan theory. Okay, true. According to new trade theory, country focus on foreign trade and later on domestic market. False. First it focus on domestic market. New trade theory considers opportunity cost as part of international trade. False. Okay. Now, let us take MCQs. Okay. Please answer MCQs. Zero-sum game theory applies to mercantilism, absolute cost advantage theory, factor equalization theorem, no trade theory. So what one? Which one? First one. What is the answer for first one? What is the answer for first one? First one is A. 2. The concept of opportunity cost is employed under modern theory of trade, factor equalization theorem, comparative cost advantage theory, and absolute cost advantage theory. Comparative cost advantage theory. Second is C. Countries with abundant capital should focus on labor-intensive good, capital-intensive good, distribute between labor and capital-intensive good, and import more machinery. They focus on capital-intensive good. 3B. The economies of scale, network effects resulting in export of goods related to new trade theory, factor equalization theorem, comparative cost advantage theory, and Ixer-Whelan theory. So economies of scale, network effects, this is new trade theory. First mover advantage theory related to absolute advantage theory, comparative cost advantage theory, new trade theory, and modern theory of trade. So new trade theory. Which theory considers bullion as a part of the international trade? Modern theory of international trade, factor equalization theorem, comparative cost advantage theory, mercantilism. So 6D. Price of output of goods, price of factors are equalized under under modern theory of international trade, factor equalization theorem, new trade theory, and absolute cost advantage theory. B, factor equalization theorem. Factor abundance is considered to be part of international trade. Ixer-Bohlen theory of international trade, comparative cost advantage, new trade theory, factor equalization theorem. 8. A. Ixer-Bohlen theory of international trade. If goods are exchanged in a country, in the country, it is called internal trade. Modern theory of trade, new trade theory, international trade. It's internal trade. Money cost is considered by A. Modern theory of trade, comparative cost advantage, new trade theory, and factor equalization theorem. Money cost, modern theory of trade. Okay, it considers cost incurred for the payment of wages for labor, interest to be paid for the capital. So it considers the money cost. So 10 is A. Okay. Clear? Clear, guys? Okay. Clear? So let me run through this. This is your 10th question. This is 9th question. This is your 8th question. This is your 7th question. 6th one. 5th one. 4th one. 3rd one. 2nd one. 1st one. So first question, zero-sum game theory. Second, the concept of opportunity cost is employed under. Third question is countries with abundant capital should focus on. Fourth question is economies of scale network effects resulting in export of goods related to. Fifth one, first mover advantage theory related to. Sixth one, which theory considers bullion as part of the international trade. Okay. 7, price of output of goods, price of factors are equalized under factor equalization theorem. Factor abundance is considered to be part of international trade. 9th one, if goods are exchanged within the country, it's called internal trade. Money cost is considered by. So this. Okay. Now we have time. I'll share something today. Okay. 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 What market wants? What market wants from you? Okay. So market does not want just BTech. Market does not want MBA. Market does not want MCA. Market does not want just CA. Okay. What market wants? What market wants? BTech plus. BTech plus. What market wants? MBA plus. What market wants? MCA degree plus. Okay, what market wants? CA plus. Okay, CA plus. Fourth question answer is okay. So what I mean to say is market does not want just degree. They want BTech plus. For studying BTech, they want BTech plus, MBA plus, MCA plus. So what we need to do is you need to hone new skills. Okay, what is new skills? You need to hone new skills. Okay, what is new skills? You know what is new skills? New skills. Okay, they want they want you to learn. They want you to learn advanced Excel. Okay, they want to learn Power BI or Tableau. Okay, okay, and they want to learn. They want you to learn. Okay, all new skills. All new skills which industry wants. Industry wants. Power BI, Tableau. Okay, financial modeling. Okay, okay. Okay, so you need to learn new skills. You need to learn new skills. So along with the CA, I want all of you to learn, okay, new skills. Okay, now learn the new skills. Okay, and if you are CA, I am also CA. What is the difference? You need to acquire new skills. Okay, okay. So now let me teach you something else. Okay, skill is, question is, why do people why do this is a story time. Okay, let me erase story time. Okay, this is a story time. Story time is, why do people make mistakes in life? Okay, so knowingly or unknowingly. Why do people make mistakes? Why do people make mistakes? Knowingly or unknowingly? Okay? You do mistake, I do mistake, everybody does mistake. Okay, whether people do mistakes knowingly or unknowingly. People do mistakes knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, knowingly, unknowingly. So a research has been carried out. Okay, why people do mistakes? Okay, I do mistakes. Okay, and everybody, Itesh does mistakes, and okay, so everybody does mistakes in life. Why do people mistakes in life, whether they knowingly or unknowingly? So when you have to do study, you have to make an assumption. They made an assumption that people are doing mistakes unknowingly. Okay, जानबूझकर नहीं कर रहे, उसको नहीं पता है. Okay, so when they did the study and the results came opposite. Okay, results came shocking, opposite, astonishing results came. What is the astonishing result? People are doing mistakes knowingly. People are doing mistakes knowingly. So how do they able to establish? Suppose you're driving your vehicle on the main road, right? You're driving your cycle, a bike on the main road. You're supposed to drive on the left side. Okay, when you're driving, you're supposed to drive on the left side. Now you are driving on the right side. आपको नहीं पता है driving on the right side is incorrect. पता है आपको, but still you are driving on the left side. Okay, so knowing pretty well driving on the right side of the road is incorrect. You are supposed to drive on the left side. You know, but still you drive. If I tell Mansha, please drive on the left side, not right side, she would say, mind your job. Mind your job. Okay, now you see there are many companies out there, corruption is there. Okay, big officers are involved in corruption. उसको नहीं पता है taking bribe is unethical. उसको पता है taking bribe is unethical, मजबूरी है. Okay, taking bribe is also unethical. Okay, taking bribe is also wrong. They know that, all the officers, they know that taking bribe is unethical, but still they take bribe because majburi hai. Now, so usko pata hai taking bribe is illegal, but still they take bribe because I can't help it, I need to take bribe. Now, chor bhi hote, thief also has a house. Thief also has a wife. Thief also has a kids. Okay, thief को नहीं पता है चोरी करना गलती है, उसको भी पता है. उसको भी पता है चोरी करना गलती है, बट क्यों मजबूरी है. So चोरी also, चोर also knows, चोरी thief also knows stealing and burglary, all this are incorrect, but मजबूरी. Suppose उसका पास छोटा बच्चा है, right? Will he tell his kid, अरे जल्दी जल्दी बड़ा हो जाओ, मैं आपको सिखाऊंगा कैसे चोरी करना, कैसे रॉबरी करना, कैसे लूटी करना? He knows that is incorrect. Okay, he knows. So we do mistakes knowingly. We do mistakes knowingly. The question is, okay, why people do mistakes? Okay, now reasons for mistakes. Reasons for doing mistakes. Okay, the reason for doing mistakes is greed. Okay, greed. Okay, so we all of us have a greed. We all of us have a greed. Suppose your greed is satisfied. Suppose your greed is satisfied. What happens? You will become overgreed. Okay, you will become overgreed. If your anger, the greed is not satisfied. Okay, greed is not satisfied. Greed is not satisfied. Then it will lead to anger or frustration. So we all of us need to control our greed. You need to control our greed. I'll tell you an example how greed is inside us. Okay, so hot summer, right? Delhi, you take Jaipur, all cities, all North India is in hot summer. One person riding on the horse and holding umbrella. Okay, now, and one other person is walking on the road. Okay, without chappals in hot summer, time 12:30, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, hot summer. In front of him, one person driving on the horse is wearing chappals, holding umbrella, is driving on the horse. The person without chappals, no, please stop him. Sir, I'm walking in the hot summer. Could you please give me your chappals? My legs are unable to walk in the summer. Please help me. Please save me in the hot summer. I'm not able to walk. You're going on horse. Moreover, you have an umbrella. Please give me your chappals. The gentleman also gave the chappals. अरे सही बोल रहे यार, चप्पल्स दे दिया. ये चप्पल पहन लिया. That horseman went on moving. This fellow took his chappals, started walking. And after a few seconds, again he stops him. Sir, what happened? Sir, you are riding on the horse. You are going to reach your place very fast. Please give me your umbrella. I need her to protect. I want to protect my head also. Very, very hot. Horseman thought, अरे सही बोल रहे हैं, उसको umbrella भी दे दिया. And he's wearing umbrella, now chappals walking. Horseman starts riding without chappals, without umbrella. He's going. Again he stops him and asks him, sir, could you please give me your horse also? Oh, he got very angry and got out of the horse, starts whipping him. Okay, when he starts whipping him, this man starts laughing. Are you mad or what? I'm whipping you, you're laughing. Sir, thank you for beating me. Had you not beaten me today, throughout the life, I would have repented for not asking the horse. Now, had you beaten me now, I realize the limit for desires. Okay, so desires is something can cause you unhappiness, frustration. I'm not saying desire. See, desire, whatever. Suppose you want to become a chartered accountant. Okay, suppose you want to become a chartered accountant for a company. You want to start your own CFO. This desire is good desire. Okay, so you need to work hard for it. Okay, now this kind of a desires. Okay, this might lead into you problems. Might lead you to problems. So greed is a more Greed is a reason for our unhappiness and frustration. So much of greed. Okay, greed multiplies. Okay, greed always multiplies. It will never make you unhappy. Okay, so we all of us. Okay, so we all of us should know. We all of us should know how to control greed. Okay, and we all of us should avoid jealousy. Jealousy is also very bad. Okay, if you are jealous of somebody, you will grow multiple times and you will never grow in life. So greed, jealousy, they are the bad vices that you can have, I can have. We need to avoid this. Okay, so greed is the main reason for anger, frustration. Okay, something that you didn't satisfy, something you didn't achieve in life, you get anger and frustration. The problem is greed is satisfied, you become more greedy. You become more greedy. Okay, I hope you like the story. Okay, and I'll tell you a very famous quotation again here. Okay, my famous quotation I'm teaching here, my all-time famous quotation. My all-time famous quotation is, hate is the failure of imagination. Hate is the failure of imagination. So hate is the failure of imagination means what? You are hating somebody. You are not supposed, you asked Raju to come to your home at 6 o'clock. It so happened Raju came at 9 o'clock. Okay, as soon as Raju comes, you start scolding him, right? You wasted 3 hours of my time. I have been waiting for 6 o'clock to go to market. You came at 9 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it might happen when he was about to come to your home, something might have happened in his home. Okay, his father would have fallen sick, or his mother would have fallen sick, his sister would have fallen sick, he would have taken his sister to the hospital. Okay, or something happened to Raju. That's the reason why he came late. Okay, and till the time Raju comes, this Raju, no, is useless fellow, always comes late. He doesn't understand my urgency. Useless fellow, stupid fellow. You always say this to yourself, to your family members. Raju na hamesha late aate. So hating somebody means you are not imagining that person in his own point of view. Okay, when you imagine a person in his own point of view, in our own point of view, you will never hate in life. Okay, 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 you never hate in life. Okay, you never hate in life. So hate is a failure of imagination means you are hating somebody means you are not able to imagine that person in his point of view. We always try to imagine our own point of view. You need to imagine the other person in his point of view, in our own point of view. When you imagine the situation, the other person in his own point, in our own point, you will never hate anybody in life. Okay, anybody in life. Okay, so very hate is a failure of imagination. So what I mean to say, if you imagine the person in his or in her own point of view, you will never hate anyone in life. Clear? Hate is a failure of imagination. Hate is a failure of imagination. Hate is a failure of imagination. Okay? Hate is a failure of imagination. Okay? So, this one. And I'll give you one problem. How many of you will solve this problem? Or show me tomorrow. You're all good at mathematics. So, I'm giving one more problem here. Okay? So, problem is, I will give you 4 twos. 4 twos. Okay, do plus or minus or this will be solved, I think, or divided by or into get me 9. Who will crack this? No one. Not able to crack this. Mukta Vyas incorrect. Arvind incorrect. Mukta Vyas incorrect. Arvind incorrect. Using 4 twos only you have to crack. Do plus minus divided by subtraction, whatever you want to do, get me 9. No one. No one. No one. No one. Arey Baba. I thought you would crack this. Oh, Karthik. No one. No one. Yeah, tomorrow, Tuesday, my chapter will be tough, difficult chapters. I made a lovely PPT. You need to do Ratta only, okay? So, international trade, negotiation, negotiation instruments, it's all the dry topic. I made a lovely PPT. I explained with simple language using my PPT, but I just do Ratta with my PPT. I made a simple topic. No Muktavyas, incorrect again. Incorrect. So next 2 units, I made a lovely PPT. So you need to do Ratta. Okay, I made a content. I made it simple PPT compared to your ICAI textbook. Attend the class. So try to follow. Nobody cracked my problem. Okay. Nobody cracked my problem. 8:30. I'm signing you off. You didn't answer 2 questions, one in yesterday, and today 1 question. 2 questions you didn't answer. Thank you. Take care. You didn't answer my question. I'm signing you off. God bless you. Good night. Sir, are you there? Yes, sir. 8:30.